Ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again for tuning into the Ground and Pound cast. We are just 2 weeks away from the first UFC event of 2026 and the first event on Paramount. I am here with Nostradamus, we call him Roy for short, and we're going to be talking about the fighters that you need to keep your eyes on in 2026. We also have a few other MMA news topics we're going to cover. So, tell everyone hi, Roy.
Hello, everybody.
All right, so we're going to start with fighters to watch in 2026. I'm going to start with the heavier weight classes, work way down, and finish off with the women's divisions. I have a few names. If you have a few names you want to add, or if you want to talk about the names that I list, we're going to go ahead and do that now. So, for starters, I've been mentioning this guy's name a whole lot, and I still say you need to keep an eye on him. 2026, he is undefeated, heavyweight fighter, 11-0, Mario Pinto. Have you followed this guy?
Only since you brought him to my attention. He's dangerous, man.
Yeah, so he has 7 wins by knockout, 1 win by submissions, only 3 decisions, so he has a high finish rate. He's undefeated, heavyweight. He's not even ranked. And the reason why I keep mentioning him, we've been saying for months and months now, we need new names to shake up the division. This guy is unranked but undefeated, and he just performs so well. And I'm very confident that his next fight, if not second to next fight, he will be fighting a ranked fighter. We're going to see him break into the rankings, and I can't wait to see where he goes. I don't think he could rise quite fast enough to get a title shot in 2026 because there's still a lot of names you have to get through. But I think he's going to be making
division. You need 3 wins,
right? But in the UFC, you still have a handful of names at the top of the heavyweight division that are going to come first. We have to get through the whole, Aspinall gone and eye injury thing. That's going to take some time. So I don't think that we'll see him work his way up to title shot just yet. But if he stays active, we could see him rise the division very quickly in 2026. And then hopefully by 2027, we can see this man fighting for a title. I think he can be really, really exciting for this division. What do you think?
I think he can put himself in title contention pretty easily. We saw Waldo Acosta-Cortez bring himself from obscurity to title contention in 4 fights where he lost one of them. And then he's in basically a contenders match, first contenders match right now up against
Derek Lewis.
Oh my gosh. Derek Lewis, the Black Beast. But whoever wins that is most likely going on to challenge whoever wins out of the rematch of Gane and Aspinall.
Right. Yeah, and that's actually the next name I was going to list. Mario Pinto was the first name I had listed. Then you have Waldo Cortez Acosta and Walter Walker are the other 2 names in the heavyweight division.
A heel hook king.
Yes, those are the other 2 they're both ranked. Waldo Cortez in the top 10. I don't have his. Let's see what he's ranked. I have the page up here. He's number 5, and then Walter Walker number 14. But he's looked really, really good.
Walker scares me. I just had a knee surgery, so I know how damaging it is to have a leg hurt that kind of way. And a heel hook is like I'm most scared of ever getting caught in a heel hook.
Right. For those of you that don't really know the jiu-jitsu game, yes, it's called a heel hook because you're twisting on the heel, which makes you think it twists the ankle. But the angle of it is when you torque the heel that way, the pressure is actually on your knee. If you do it at a really weird angle, you could affect the ankle, but if it's done properly, it's actually it affects your knee joint more than your ankle. So
that's not right. If it's done properly, it'll tear your knee to shreds.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So those are the names to watch in the heavyweight division: Mario Pinto, Waldo Cortez Acosta, and Walter Walker. That's the names I got. You have any names?
Tom Aspinall.
Well, yeah.
He's coming back, and he's going to start a reign that will cover everyone in rain.
Yeah, something like that. All right.
I'm serious. Tom is due for it. He got his knee gave out screwing him out of the record for most heavyweight wins in a row for the first time. I think that he's going to go ahead and capture that record along with having the greatest title reign that we've seen in heavyweight and restore the division. I have faith in this man, dang it.
All right. Well, let's hope it plays out that way. And we need some of these younger contenders to come up because we don't want to see them fighting the same 4 names over and over.
No. And, even Daniel Cormier agreed that in that little private conversation that got leaked with Tom, that with the weakness in the heavyweight division, he really just has to get past Gane, and he could go on a tear very easily that breaks all the records.
Right. So that's all I got on heavyweight. Do you got anything else on heavyweight? Are you ready to move on to light heavyweight?
We can do light heavyweight. Let's do it.
All right. So moving on to light heavyweight, names to look out for. Guys that I think are going to make big waves in the division in 2026. We're going to start with...
I missed a heavyweight.
Oh, you missed a heavyweight? We go back.
I missed a heavyweight to look out for in 2026, and that's Alex Pereira. With him moving up, that's going to be exciting.
Well, that hasn't been made official yet, but if it does happen, then yes.
I believe in him.
All right, so moving on to the light heavy division, Alex Pereira's actual division. So we have a very obvious name at the top, and that is, of course, Carlos Ulberg. What do you think is in store for him in 2026?
I think Ulberg's on the precipice of a great run or a crushing defeat. He's definitely either fighting Yuri or Alex next. And he's earned it for the title shot, in my opinion. But there's always Yuri acting as a gatekeeper because nobody can beat that man but Alex Pereira.
Correct. And that was actually the other name I have. So when I mentioned like names to watch out for, it's up-and-comers. And Yuri is technically not an up-and-comer because he's a former champion. But when you look at the resurgence he's had since his Alex fights, he's looked really, really well against Khalil Roundtree, against Jamal Hill, and there was another name. I can't remember who it was off the top of my head. Was it Volkan Ozdemir? I can't remember. There's someone else he fought recently as well within the last couple of years. He's really kind of made a resurgence, and he is gunning for a third shot at Alex Pereira. I don't know if he'd win that fight, but I think he has a better chance than most of the people in the division, and he is ranked. He's tied at number 1 with Ankalaev. So him making a resurgence, I think he's the other name to watch out for in 2026. I don't know who he's going to be fighting next, but him and Carlos Ulberg, that's the 2 people I'd love to see them fight. I know that there was rumors of those 2 fighting, but I haven't seen anything official just yet. It's like it's in the works, but yeah, that's the 2 names I think you need to look out for. The rest of these guys, I don't see them doing a whole lot. So those are the 2 that I got.
I believe in the rivalry between brothers. And with Walter Walker doing well, I think that Johnny's going to step it up, and we should watch for him to go on a heck of a run this year.
We shall see. He had a really good showing against Zhang Mingyang, and if we would have had this conversation at the beginning of 2025, saying fighters look out for in 2025, I would have mentioned Zhang Mingyang because he looked really, really scary. And if Zhang Mingyang would have beaten Johnny Walker, I would also have him on this list. But that's not the way it played out. Johnny Walker did look really good in that fight, so we shall see. He is pretty inconsistent, but when he wins, he wins big.
Got 3 losses.
Johnny Walker?
Yeah.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah, 17 wins by knockout. Oh, it's 3 wins by submission. I'm looking at this wrong. He has 9 losses.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But he only had 1 fight in 2025, but it was a really good one. And before that, he went 2 losses and a no contest in his last 3 before that. So, I mean, when he wins big, though. So, he has really good output, really good offense, but we'll see.
No way he lets little brother steal all of his thunder. It's coming out. It's time.
We shall see. All right, moving on to middleweight, and I'm looking at some of these names that we need to look out for. And part of me
Hamza is not going anywhere. I
Right.
don't think anybody in this list has a chance of taking the crown off his head if he can get healthy.
Correct, but I'm looking at some of these names in the top 15 and who I think are going to be moving up and getting some big wins on the way to that shot. And I have two names in particular that I'm really intrigued to see what happens to them in 2026. And one of them is Nasruddin Imavov. And the other one, and I know that Rick's going to love hearing this, Anthony Fluffy Hernandez. I think Rick's his biggest fan. So those are two names that have a lot of momentum, and I think they're going to be continuing that momentum in 2026 on the way up to challenge the middleweight king.
I think the biggest one to watch out for is going to be Michael Venom Page. If he doesn't get his challenge at welterweight and resides himself to stay at middleweight, he's going to adjust and make his adjustments and be a monster to deal with this lineup.
Yeah, he could be an interesting fighter to watch. He is in his late 30s, so he's on the...
He's just in time for that last run of his career.
Right. I really wish he would have joined the UFC a lot sooner. But yeah, I think Imavov and Hernandez are going to be two that really keep your eye on. I know we have Strickland versus Hernandez that's booked, and we'll see how that fight plays out. If Hernandez wins that one, he's got a win over a former champion. He's going to continue moving up. I could see him being a really exciting fighter, and you got Imavov right there ranked at number 2. So I think those are the names to really keep your eyes on.
See, what I would do is the winner out of Strickland Hernandez, I'd have them fight DDP on the way to a winner, a contenders match for who gets to fight Chimaev.
Yeah, that could be really interesting.
I know that cuts Imavov out, but I just don't know where he fits in the current picture.
Right. Well, that's basically all I got on middleweight. You ready for welterweight?
All right. Very matter of fact today. We're going to move to welterweight, correct?
Oh, yeah. All right. So I've been doing just 2 names per division, but this one I couldn't help myself. I had to do 3 names. Can you guess which 3 names?
Jack Dumplement, Dumpamandalina.
Okay. That's not one of
I
that's
got completely tongue-tied there. I can't believe that. That's never happened to me before, ever.
That's actually not one of the names that I had.
Oh, well, honorable mention then.
All right.
Yeah, I'm thinking you're looking at Ian Machado Gary.
That's one of them.
Let's see. Michael Morales, now that he's got a chip on his shoulder.
You know, I didn't actually have Morales typed in here in my notes, but he should have been. I'll own that as a mistake on my part. I didn't put his name in there, so let's actually change that. It should be 4 names. I don't know why I didn't list him. And let's just go ahead and jump to the chase here. I have Shavkat Rakhmonov, Ian Gary, and I had Carlos Prates, even though he does have 1 loss recently, but he's looked really good outside of that. And now that you mention it, yeah, Michael Morales, I should have had listed in my notes here. So actually, I got 4 names. All 4 of those guys, they're all ranked right underneath JDM. Bilal Muhammad is between Prates and Morales. But those are the 4 names, I think, when we're looking at, and you could probably also add JDM to this list. Those are the guys that are all going to be fighting it out to try to get to the top of the hill to challenge Islam next. Those are all the names that I think are going to be on fire in 2026. The only way that any of their fires get extinguished is if they fight each other.
I agree. It's going to be interesting. Of course, there's always a chance that Prates stops smoking and becomes infinite in his cardio.
Right.
You know, he if he ever decides that he really wants the belt, he'll give that up. Public announcement from Ground and Poundcast.
Yeah, Carlos Prates is kind of a genetic phenom. I don't know if someone smokes as much as he does and has the cardio he does. But
maybe he only does it as a show for when the camera's on.
Could be.
He takes like 2 puffs and then he's like, all right, now my opponents think that my cardio's compromised.
Yeah, and he's got this bad boy image from it, I suppose.
Yeah, it's all a gimmick. It's all a work.
Yep. And you still have Chef Cat ranked at number 2, who's still undefeated. Ian Machado Gary, that's only
Yeah, what's
lost.
Chef Cat's deal? He didn't fight last year, did he?
So I think there was some personal issues going through, but there was also an injury he was recovering from. So yeah, he did have to take some time off, but he's still undefeated, and I know he's planning on a return in 2026. Ranked right below him.
December 7th of 24 is his last fight.
Yep. Ian Gary's ranked right below him, and Ian Gary's only loss is to Chef Cat. He also has a win over Carlos Prates. And then you have Michael Morales, who's undefeated, or is he undefeated? We'll talk about that later. We will talk about that later. Is Michael Morales still undefeated? Stick around for the end of the episodes. We will be talking about that topic. But yes, all of those names, I think of all the divisions, this is the one that has the most names that you really need to watch, because this is probably the most on-fire division when it comes to the overall talent from top to bottom.
Yeah, absolutely. There's guys that we didn't even mention who are dangerous, even Kamaru Usman, who didn't make our list here.
Yeah, and Sean Brady and Joaquin Buckley. There's a lot of really good names here.
Belal Muhammad.
Colby Covington, that's a joke. That's a joke.
Man.
Why is he ranked? All right, we're not going to go down that rabbit hole. All right.
Up next, lightweight, the most contested division in the UFC currently.
All right, so you have Ilia Topuria, who's the champion, who's kind of in a spot right now where he's not going to be able to defend. So you have the
strip him.
Right. We have the interim title fight that's coming up.
Shouldn't be interim. Strip him.
Hey, I don't make the rules, man. I just report on it.
The rules are there can be an interim title fight if the champ is injured. That doesn't count injuries to his fees.
Right. Well, regardless, we have Justin Gaethje and Paddy Pimblett ranked number 4, number 5 for the interim title. And because 2 and 3, we talked about this recently, Charles Oliveira, Max Holloway, they're going the BMF route. I don't think that they're going to be relevant for the lightweight title picture because of that. The names to look out for, I probably should say Justin Gaethje and Paddy, as well as Paddy Pimblett, but I'm not going to mention Justin Gaethje because I just don't think he's going to be beating Paddy. I think Paddy's the name that you really need to look out for amongst this group of people. And maybe Arman Tsarukyan, he should also be listed, but as we said before, he's kind of getting blackballed. We will see how things play out with those names, but I think Paddy Pimblett, I think this is the year where he's going to be trying to rise up the most. This is going to be where he's the most driven. This is going to be like his big push to the top in 2026. So I think Paddy Pimblett is, if you want to pick one name to watch out for, that's the name to watch out for.
I agree. This is going to be Paddy's year. There's only one man who could rise to the occasion to disrupt this train, but I think he's going to shoot himself in the foot before getting the rematch, and that's Michael Chandler.
Chandler's in the Colby Covington boat. And you have Arman Tsarukyan. If he quits doing things to make the boss angry, he could be a name to watch out for. And normally whenever I talk about these names to watch out for this year, it's the ones that I think are on the cusp of title shot. I have one other name I don't think he's quite there yet, but I think he will be making some pretty big waves in 2026. Another name to look out for is Benoit Saint-Denis. He's currently ranked number 8. But he's looked really good in his last few fights. And I think that we will see him rising up this division very quickly in 2026 with his current pace. And I think he could be looking at title contention probably sometime next year.
I doubt it takes that long. He's undefeated in the UFC so far.
No, he's not. Benoit Saint-Denis, no, he's got at least 2 losses.
Really?
He lost to Dustin Poirier. He was winning the fight until he got knocked out, and then he got taken down and pummeled by Renato Moicano. But he also knocked out Dariush in 6 seconds or something ridiculous like that. No, it wasn't 6 seconds. It was longer than that. But still, it was very, very short, maybe 12 seconds. Benoit Saint-Denis, has looked really, really good lately. He does have a couple of losses, but I think he's getting better, and I think he's about to be rising up these rankings really quick. And then, of course, you got Arman Tsarukyan, who's should be the number one contender for a while, but he keeps on doing things to anger the boss, and it keeps prohibiting him from getting his title shot. He already had a title shot once, but end up dropping out the fight like the day of or the day before or something like that. So he's still a name you need to keep an eye on, but I think that the names that we're going to be seeing really making waves in 2026 are going to be Paddy and Benoit Saint-Denis for the lightweight division.
Arman Tsarukyan is on that path of he's going to have to be so good that he's undeniable to get a title shot because he's such a D-bag.
Yeah. If he stops doing the things like I mentioned in a recent episode where he headbutted Dan Hooker. There was another incident. What was it? He was getting into it with Paddy Pimblett backstage. No, I'm sorry, no one Paddy Pimblett. Ian Gary. He got into it with Ilya Taporia and online over some stupid stuff. There was years ago, him and his crew were ganging up on Bobby Green backstage or like at a hotel or something like that. And there's a time he swung at a fan on the way to the ring at UFC 300. He's always doing these things that are just making everybody angry. And I get that. Look, these are fighters. They don't have exactly the most gentlemanly personalities. But when you're constantly doing stuff like that, it keeps getting you in some type of trouble. It's going to slow things down. If he starts keeping his nose clean, he can eventually get that shot that he technically deserves based off of performance.
Yeah, I know Dana's saying that it's those things that have stopped it, but I think that it's just that he's a dirtbag. If Dana has overlooked a lot of stuff that fighters have done without taking their opportunity.
John
Some
Jones.
fighters,
John
such
Jones.
as
John
what's
Jones.
his name?
John Jones.
Well, yes, but what's his name? The guy who Bryce Mitchell. In the case of Bryce Mitchell, he literally came out and said the good thing about this business is you can see them get their butts kicked.
Yeah.
It's not going to interfere with your with your opportunity unless you're a dirtbag and it doesn't grab ratings.
Yeah. I think that's fair.
He's a dirtbag who doesn't grab ratings.
But you know who's not a dirtbag? Benoit Saint-Denis. Like I said, keep your eye on him. He's a really good fighter, and he seems like a good dude too.
Yeah.
But I digress. All right. Now, moving right along to the featherweight division, we'll talk about what to keep your eye on. First off, we have the fight already booked between Volkanovski and Diego Lopez. We already know about that, so talking about those names just feels redundant, so to speak. So I think when you're looking at other names you really need to keep your eyes on, he has been inactive for the last few years. Like he's had, one fight in 2023, I think 2 in 2024, didn't fight at all in 2025, but he's set to come back in 2026. He is undefeated. He is ranked number 1. He even has a victory over Diego Lopez, and that is Movsar Evloev, or Evlov, Evloev. I got to mispronounce at least one name. He's, I think, a name that we really need to keep an eye on because he has been inactive, but he is undefeated, and he is finally making his return in 2026. And the fact that he's ranked number 1, undefeated, has a win over the guy who's currently challenging for the title, I think we could see him making big waves in 2026, especially if Lopez wins in the rematch against Volkanovski. That would be a good rematch to set up. And even if Volkanovski wins, still, it's another opponent that Volkanovski hasn't faced yet. So I got Movsar Evloev as the guy that you need to keep your eye on in 2026 for the featherweight division. What's your thoughts?
Absolutely. He's ranked number 1 for a reason. But, to be fair, I don't really care about featherweight. I guess Aljamain Sterling is a name that jumps out at me because, well, we've heard a lot about him.
Former champion in bantamweight, though.
Yeah.
I like featherweight. Volkanovski is one of my favorite champions currently, and I'm a huge fan of.
Volkanovski as a person embodies everything that a champion should.
Yeah, I
But
love that
when you
dude.
get down to weight classes this low, they typically are only good for cardio and endurance.
I think Volkanovski is very well rounded, and his opponent Diego Lopez also one of my favorite fighters. So I still say that fight shouldn't be the one to make, but it's already set in stone. Nothing I could do about it. I do think this is an exciting division. Maybe not quite as exciting as lightweight and welterweight, but it is a good division. You still have some other good names here to look for. Yair Rodriguez, Leroy Murphy. Actually, that should be another name I should mention for this is Leroy Murphy is another name to keep your eye on in 2026. The other ones have kind of been in the top for a while, but I think Evloev being undefeated with the win over Diego Lopez and coming back in 2026, he's already booked for a fight. He should be a name you look for, as well as Leroy Murphy.
Cool.
All right, so moving right along to bantamweight. Let's see here. I, for some reason, didn't take any notes on bantamweight when I was.
Peter Yan.
Well, Piotr Yan, the new champion, also former champion. This is his second run as champion. Yeah, I think it's a little too easy just to list the champion and say that's the man to look for. And it's supposed to be for the up-and-comers. But I think the fact that he just won the title back and he has a handful of opponents that are ranked in the top that he hasn't fought yet or doesn't have wins against, he probably is the name to watch. Because, he's 1-1 Merab. He's probably going to be fighting again against Merab. If he wins that rematch, you have Umar Nurmagomedov, who he hasn't fought yet. Sean O'Malley, who he's fought but he lost against in a very close fight. So there's a lot of potential fights, really exciting fights that could happen all surrounding Piotr Yan's name. So he probably is the name to watch. I think it's too easy just to point at all the champions, but I think in this case, all the excitement's going to be revolving around those title fights that are involving him. So yeah, I think that's the name to watch out for.
Yep. I want to give an honorable mention to the Song Yudong versus Sean O'Malley fight coming up. This is a fight with O'Malley where O'Malley really has it on his shoulders, make or break.
Oh, absolutely.
After his stock has dropped so low, if you like O'Malley, this is going to be the fight where O'Malley has it all on the line, and I think that's going to make for an exciting outing.
Yep. And speaking of exciting outings, exciting fighters, the most exciting fighter of 2025, our new flyweight champion. I look at these names that could be potentially facing him this year, and there's only a few names that really stick out to keep your eyes on in 2026. Obviously, Joshua Van. I was trying to avoid mentioning the champions and the names to watch out for because I think it's just too easy. But in this case, he's a new champion who did win off of what you could consider a fluke injury, and I'm not saying that to discredit him. He is the rightful champion. I'm not trying to hate on him for that, the way he won, but it's still one of those things where there's still some questions surrounding him, and I think he's going to bring a lot of excitement in 2026. The other names to watch out for are Manel Kape and Tatsuro Taira. Pantoja being out for a while, we don't know if he's going to be back in 2026. If he is, it'll be towards the end. But the names you want to keep your eyes on in 2026 for this division are Joshua Van, Manel Kape, Tatsuro Taira. Those are the ones you need to watch out for. Those are the ones that I think are going to be the focus 2026 for flyweight. So what do you think?
I think that it's funny to hear you say that you've come around on Kape.
No, I still hate Kape. I hate him with an absolute passion. But the simple fact is he has a lot of momentum. He is a really good fighter. He has looked very impressive in his last few wins, except for the one where he won by Wolverine attacks to the eyeballs that the referee didn't do anything about. I'm not saying I'm a fan of the guy. I'm just saying that he's in a spot right now where he is one of the names to watch 2026. He could potentially be champion.
Deny him.
What's that?
He's so good, you can't deny him.
I've never tried to deny that he's a good fighter. I've always said he's a good fighter. He is a great fighter. And I even think he has a very good chance at beating Joshua Van and being the champion by the end of 2026. It doesn't mean that I don't think he's dirty, and doesn't mean I don't hate his guts. I absolutely cannot stand him. But at the end of the day, he does have the talent, and I think Van has a big challenge ahead of him if he faces him. And the other name to mention is Tatsuro Taira, who's looked really, really good. His only loss was against Royval. He might end up going for a rematch against him. If not, then he's going to be another one that's going to be gunning for the title sometime in 2026. So if Van stays active, that is, and he seems to be a pretty active fighter, just going off of 2025. So yeah, that's the names to look out for.
Let's be real. You miss Pantoja.
I do miss Pantoja.
Going to come back with a chip on his shoulder from losing his title the way he did.
Absolutely. I'm not denying that whatsoever. I was a huge Pantoja fan whenever he was holding the title. I think that he would beat Van in a rematch, maybe. There's still a lot of questions surrounding Van because, he went to decision against Royval when Kopp was able to finish Royval. And when he beat Pantoja, it was a freak injury at the beginning of the match. So there's still questions surrounding his name. He is a good fighter. I think he's really exciting to watch. But there's still questions. And some of those questions will have to get answered in 2026. So I think it's going to start with Manel Kopp. We'll see. And we haven't mentioned Tatsuro Taira enough. I just mentioned that his only loss against Royval, and I could see them maybe setting up a rematch to get that one back and work his way up. Watching his last couple of fights, he is really, really good. He's really fun to watch. I think he's someone that we shouldn't forget when it comes to this little running in the title here.
Yeah, absolutely. This is probably my least watched division, and don't make it sound like you know more about it. Do you know who Amir Albadazi is?
I do not.
Asu Almabadev.
Tim
Elliott.
I know Tim Elliott, yeah, and Steve Verseg and Alex Perez. I'm looking at these names. I know some of these names. Bruno Silva, Charles Johnson. These are fighters I've seen. I will say, and I think I said this on a recent episode, that flyweight actually impressed in 2025. I thought we got a lot of good fights out of 2025 from the flyweight division. But at the end of the day, the names to watch out for are those ones right at the top. The top three, if you count the champion and not count Pantoja since he's out on injury.
Yeah.
All right, moving right along to the women's divisions. These divisions are a lot more shallow, so it's kind of harder to talk about these divisions. I think we're going to be a little shorter on this one, on these. Starting with women's bantamweight, the only really thing to look for in this division is the big fight coming up with the returning Amanda Nunes against Kayla Harrison. Outside of that, I don't really see a whole lot of names that are really sticking out to me. So that's going to be the big fight to watch. Is Kayla Harrison the new women's MMA GOAT, or is Nunes coming back to reclaim that crown? That's what we have to look forward to in 2026 for women's bantamweight. What do you think about that?
Yep, I think that's the story of 2026. We're going to have to see if anyone emerges as a contender because it's a really shallow division.
Yeah, it is. I mean, all the other names that you see on here have lost to the other people at the top, and then they just beat each other and stay floating in their spots. So, yeah, the only thing that we're talking about is that title fight coming up.
Yep.
Now, moving on to women's flyweight, man, Shevchenko just seems unstoppable in this division. I think if there's any person outside of the champion that you should keep your eye on, it's Natalia Silva. I almost want to say Manon Fiorot because she has a very impressive record, one of the best records in the division, but she has recently lost against Shevchenko, so I don't know what they're going to be doing with her in 2026. Natalia Silva has a stellar record as well, and she hasn't faced Shevchenko yet. So I think that's a name we need to keep our eyes on in 2026. Natalia Silva.
As always, throw it out to Thug Rose. She's going to be making her her reclaiming of this year.
It's a little fun fact here. Natalia Silva's last loss was in 2017 in some no-name division before she was even in the UFC. In the UFC, she is 7-0 just in the UFC. Her overall record is 19-5-1. The one was a draw early in her career. And her last win was against Alexa Grasso, former champion, who went 1 win, 1 loss, 1 draw against Shevchenko. So, Manon Fiorot I'm sorry, Natalia Silva, that is. And Figueroa, the other person Jeff Jacob fought. Natalia Silva, I think, is going to be the next one to watch gunning for that title in this division.
Cool.
All right. And last but not least, actually probably least. No, I shouldn't say that. Last but not least, women's strawweight. So I was looking at this list, and we talked about this last week about, a lot of the potential fights for Mackenzie Dern. And I look at a lot of these names who have wins against her in the past, or other people she hasn't fought yet, like Zhang Weili, Tatiana Suarez. But pretty much anything that's going to happen in this division in 2026 is all going to revolve around Mackenzie Dern. So while I don't really think Mackenzie Dern is technically the fighter to watch, she will be the fighter to watch because anyone that is worth watching is going to be being put against her. So make sure you tune into Mackenzie Dern's fights because you're going to see some of the absolute best that women's strawweight has to offer in 2026. I don't know if it's going to be Zhang Weili right off the jump, but either way, we're going to be seeing the very best of this division all going against Mackenzie Dern. So technically, Mackenzie Dern is the fighter to watch in 2026 to see how it plays out around her holding that title.
Yeah, the only one that I'm going to be watching for is Lupi Godinez. She only has losses to Zhang Weili and Mackenzie Dern, and I could see her making a good run at the title.
Yeah, she's a really good fighter in this division. I think she's one of the best. She's also one of the most fun to watch. All right, so that's all we have for fighters to watch in 2026. We do have some other topics we want to talk about. So I guess we'll start with, the next event we have in 2 weeks, we have Paddy Pimblett fighting against Justin Gaethje, but that's not the only rivalry he has going on right now. Have you seen about this?
He's got a rivalry with Ilya.
And Dan Hooker.
And he has rivalries with everybody. This is Paddy we're talking about. It's one of the things we love. He can't get along with a dog.
He gets along with Tom Aspinall, but they're fellow Brits. That's why they're buddies.
Tom Aspinall has that dog in him.
Yeah. So Paddy Pimblett and Dan Hooker drama has been interesting because when you have the drama between Paddy and Ilya, they're both trying to be champion. Well, Ilya's champion.
Good natured.
Right.
Even if it's I'm going to kill you, it's still got a seasoning of respect on it.
Maybe. I mean, it kind of walks the line of respectful and disrespectful.
He called him a sausage. That's way different than saying what he said here.
Right. Well, what I'm getting at is like if the rivalry between Paddy and Ilya is based around competition. It's based around that. This is not. Or against each other, that is. It's not based around competition against each other. So Paddy Pimblett and Dan Hooker had some online beef that got really out of hand. Like normally we don't talk about online beef drama online.
I think Paddy made a exaggerated point in a very crass way.
Yeah, and Dan Hooker did not take it well.
Took it to a whole nother level.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, we normally don't talk about like online drama, but this was like so wild that it would just feel weird not to mention it. So there was Dan Hooker competed in like a grappling event and didn't look great. And Paddy Pimblett said something that we try to keep the language at least somewhat clean on this podcast. We're not G-rated. We try to keep it between PG and PG-13. I'm not going to repeat exactly what Paddy said, but he made a pretty incendiary remark about Dan Hooker not being able to grapple something a certain way.
An abuser off his mom. Right.
And Dan Hooker said, it's on site. In other words, if I see you in person, we're throwing down as soon as I see you face to face. We're not waiting for a scheduled match. It's on site. I see you in person. It's going down. And who knows?
That's what you thought was the controversial part? I thought
that's part of it.
Referencing Paddy's buddy Ricky, who killed himself.
Oh yeah,
as the real source of controversy in this.
well, I'm just going
I'm
through.
going to fight you.
I know
It
I'm
takes a
going
real
through all of the.
dirtbag to bring up your dead friend.
I know I hadn't got to that. That's it. I'm going through the sequence here.
Ah,
Yeah, there's a lot of back and forth between these two.
I guess I've only seen the highlights. Enlighten me.
I mean, that's basically it, you know. So they're going back and forth. They're saying some very incendiary things, like that are beyond the normal trash talk online. And now I think these two, if they see each other face to face, it's kind of like when Dricus du Plessis got into it in the crowd with Sean Strickland. I'm just saying we might see something like this between these two. It's gotten that out of hand between Dan Hooker and Paddy Pimblett.
Yeah, it'd be a shame to see Paddy throw his opportunity away on Hooker over some dumb online stuff. So I think he needs to just go ahead and table it, keep his head about him, and realize that he's on the verge of the biggest shot of his life.
Right.
And Hooker's basically a nobody. As Paddy said, Hooker can't grapple.
Yep. And, you know, speaking of Dan Hooker, this would be a nice segue into the next topic. So remember when Dan Hooker had his fight with Arman Tsarukyan, and they had the ceremonial weigh-ins or the press conference, one or the other, and Arman Tsarukyan decided to take the opportunity to headbutt Dan Hooker? According to Dana White, that is the reason why Arman Tsarukyan... Right. According to Dana White, that is the reason Arman Tsarukyan is not being given a title shot opportunity despite being ranked number one, as well as other performance stuff we've mentioned in the past. We mentioned it earlier on this episode. Yeah, so that's coming from Dana White's mouth directly. That is what led to him not getting a title shot. I know we touched on it earlier, but you want to dig into that a little bit deeper. What do you think about Dana White's comments, Arman Tsarukyan getting snuffed for a title shot and all that, or snubbed for a title shot?
I still think it's the same thing. If you're a dirtbag and you don't bring ratings, you're not getting your shot. And Tsarukyan is a perfect example of that. He's a dirtbag who, even when he pulls dirtbag moves, can't get the cameras on himself. He's just not that exciting. And the public has moved past his antics. He keeps trying to step it up to try and grab attention. And it's not attention that he should want, and it's not attention that he's getting. Tsarukyan is going to antic his way into obscurity just because he's a dirtbag who can't get ratings.
Right. See, like John Jones.
Now, I wouldn't say that to his face. He may be a little guy, but he's still dangerous.
Yeah, but like I was saying, like when you look at John Jones as a contrast, also a dirtbag, but he at least pulls in ratings. I still can't stand him either, but Dana White's going to look at that and he's like, okay, there's still a cash cow here, you know. But it's not with Arman.
Oh, look at Paddy. Paddy insults everybody. He gets into it with everybody. He threw a bottle of hand sanitizer at a champion.
Hand sanitizer boy. Overall,
and then
though,
made fun of him about it. Yes.
Overall, though, I think Paddy's not quite as much of a dirtbag as the other ones that we mentioned.
He made a joke about a grapist and Dan Hooker's mother.
Fair. Okay. Fair.
He's on the same level. He's interesting and he pulls ratings.
Fair. All right, another topic we're going to talk about. We very briefly mentioned this earlier. Michael Morales, one of the biggest names to watch out for in 2026, not just in his division, but I think overall in the UFC, was undefeated. He is no longer undefeated. You're like, wait, he had a fight and he lost? I missed that. When did that happen? So apparently, way earlier in his career, he had a match. And I guess it was originally written up as like an exhibition or something where it didn't count. There's 2 fights that he had earlier on that were not considered official professional fights, so they didn't make his record. Tapology came out and updated it, saying, okay, these were sanctioned fights. These are professional fights. So he ends up getting 2 more fights get put on his record. One of them's a win and one of them's a loss. So with Tapology updating that, he is no longer undefeated because of a fight that happened way earlier in his career. And Michael Morales is not happy about that.
No, and I think that's a good thing for his career because he's got a chip on his shoulder now that he didn't have before.
Right. Now, when I look at Wikipedia, it still shows he's undefeated. But
it takes some time to update.
Yeah, if you go to Tapology, I know there's other places. You have, if you look at ESPN, it still shows him 19-0. And then if you go to Tapology, looks like they changed it. It's saying 19-0 again, but I know that there's something that come out. Okay, so it's weird. If you look at Tapology, it looks like they're not even updating themselves, because if you look at the top, it says pro MMA record 19-0. But if you scroll down and look at his total fights, you have 2 matches listed at the very beginning of his career. It says exhibition MMA, but one's a win, one's a loss. Back in 2017.
Yeah, I thought that exhibition match got overturned and became a real match.
I'm not sure. But either way, like now if you look at his Tapology and look towards the bottom, it shows that he has a loss. I mean, that's still showing as an exhibition. It's not listed, but I know I checked this yesterday because I remember the news hit a day or 2 ago, and he was pretty upset about it. And I went to Tapology, and sure enough, it did show like 20-1 as opposed to 19-0 because it added those 2 exhibitions. But now when I look, it shows that they're listed, but it's not listing them as a professional fight on his count now. But it's weird because like when you look like right here, it shows 3-0, but then it shows 3-1. It almost seems like there's a little confusion over what is considered a sanctioned fight and what isn't, because it looks like they've actually gone and changed it since I looked yesterday. But either way, it came out hitting the news that Morales is no longer considered undefeated, according to Tapology. And Michael Morales responded to Tapology saying F you about that. So maybe they went back and changed it back. I don't know. I know when it comes to the regional scene and what's considered professional, there's a lot of gray area on what is a legit bout and what's not, what goes on your record and what doesn't. So I don't know. But I just thought it was worth talking about.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on to the next topic. For those of you that missed it, Alex Pereira and Tracy Cortez started dating. They were in a relationship.
It's over.
Oh, already? All right. Moving on. Is that all there is to talk about on that one?
When a woman records herself and proposing to you and sends it out to the world on day 3 of your relationship, that's a Cat 5 clinger and crazy that you need to get away with. Mad props for Alex for noticing this crimson red flag and running in the other direction. Chama.
Yeah, we didn't have time to talk about the relationship starting. I mean, not that, that's our material we normally talk about anyway, but it was one of the very few things to talk about over the last few weeks. And before we even had a chance to mention it, it was already announced that they're split up. It's basically like a Hollywood relationship, little fling that you see come up like, oh, this celebrity and that celebrity together. Oh, and they're not. It seems like one of those cases in the MMA scene. But
it looks like Tracy is going with the Taylor Swift theory of dating.
Yeah, it could be. I don't know. I don't really focus on that stuff. Fighter relationships. Who cares? But it was still worth talking about because it's one of the few things that I saw a lot of people talking about online in the MMA circles is they started dating and then immediately started not dating. And a lot of people were talking about that. Like, it ended so quick. What happened? Who knows? Not my business. So, moving on to the next topic, we mentioned Ilia Topuria and Paddy Pimblett.
Is going to win between Justin and Paddy, and what quality of fight do you think it's going to be?
All right, so I think Justin is pretty durable. Yeah, we did see him get knocked out against Max Holloway, but it took him 24 minutes and 59 seconds to do that. but he is still overall pretty durable. Paddy has looked really good. He's very dangerous. I think Paddy will win, but I think Justin's going to make it tough and competitive. I think Paddy, if he fights smart and patient, can get maybe a late stoppage. Like when I say late, third or later, third, fourth, fifth round. That's what I think. But I know you might have an opinion. Rick might have an opinion. I might have an opinion. But apparently Ilya has an opinion on it as well. Ilya Taporia, the champion of that division.
Yes, Ilya thinks that Paddy is going to whip Justin easily. Quote, easily.
Ilya has a habit of any fight he talks about, this person will beat that person easily. He talks about that about himself a whole lot, to the point it's come across very arrogant. That's why people don't like him. The dude said that if he was in his prime and fought, well, he is in his prime, but if he fought GSP in his prime, that he would beat GSP easily. Now, I know that's him talking about himself, but every fight he sees is like a one-sided domination for whoever he thinks is superior. So, do you agree with him? Do you think it's going to be Paddy winning easily?
I think that Paddy's going to have to take Justin out in round 1 or 2 early and with intensity, because Justin's durable enough and has good enough cardio to grind out a 5th round finish.
Yeah. Do you think Justin could finish Paddy though?
Scousers don't get knocked out, and Justin has never submitted anybody. His jiu-jitsu is the biggest hole in his game.
So you're saying that Paddy's going to beat him easily then, just like Ilya said, right?
I'm saying that Justin's only chance is to grind out a decision in the long run, but Paddy has more ways to win this reasonably, and let's face it, he's not a spring chicken, but he's significantly younger.
Yeah.
And Justin wouldn't stand a chance against Ilya.
Do you think Paddy
would be a paper champion, a paper interim champion, and that's terrible.
Right. Do you think Paddy stands a chance against Ilya?
Yes. I think Paddy can beat Ilya.
I don't agree. I mean,
you don't have
hold
to.
On. Let me say.
Be wrong.
He can, like almost any fighter can beat any fighter. We've seen huge upsets. Matt Serra beat GSP. Any fighter could beat any fighter. I think Matt Serra has less of a chance of beating GSP than Paddy does of beating Ilya, and Matt Serra did win. I'm just using it as like an ultimate upset example. So yes, it can happen. I just don't see it happen. I think that very likely Ilya wins that fight.
Think Ilya will probably win that fight, but I think out of the competition that's there, Paddy has the most tools in his toolbox to counter Ilya.
I will say this. If those two fight, and I think it's pretty inevitable that they will fight at some point, as long as like nothing crazy happens in their lives that pulls them away from the fight game, eventually these two will have to fight each other, and I can't wait for it, because you just know every interview, every press conference is just going to be absolute fire.
It's going to be basically Paddy picking on somebody who doesn't speak good English.
Well, Ilya
cannot come up with a comeback to anything ever.
Ilya does run his mouth a lot. It's not like witty banter.
It's not witty.
It's like just angry, just incendiary, just ready to rip your head off.
Paddy's banter doesn't always make sense either. I mean,
but it's funny. It's his delivery. It's his delivery, though. Sometimes it's not even what you're saying being witty. It's the tone of voice you say it, and the confidence you say it, and laughing when you say it. Like Paddy really succeeds in the delivery aspect of his banter. He can
turn anything into an insult.
Right. I mean, who would think to call someone hand sanitizer boy and make it sound funny, you know? I'm just saying that if those two fight, you just know that when we have the press conferences and even the interviews, if they show up on like what's his name? Like Ariel Helwani's podcast or something like that, where he kind of gets them both on camera to say something. We've seen that a few times, and I would love to see those two have like a back and forth through video and then eventually we'd have the press conferences and stuff like that, and it's going to be very entertaining.
Yes. I think that for press purposes, Patty's the one to watch out for this year because he's going to have all cameras on him once he takes that interim title.
And he's going to be going after that Spanish sausage, little chorizo. Which is weird because isn't chorizo like Mexican Spanish, not Spain Spanish? But who cares? We don't need to break. We don't need to break it.
Know what type of Spanish he is either.
Right. It was born in Germany. He grew up in Georgia, and then moved to Spain. You little mongrel. That's another thing that Patty threw at him. Well, that's basically all I got for this episode. Anything else you want to add?
Nope, that's it. That wraps it up for this week. Welcome. Thank you for listening to the Ground and Pound Cast, where we bring you the best news and information week after week. And next week, unlike this past couple, it's not a filler week. We actually get to talk about a numbered UFC event. So Correct. Tune in and see what we've got in store.
Right, and I guess they're no longer called pay-per-views. We will probably slip up and say pay-per-view from time to time because that's been the terminology used for literally decades. But it's going to be like moving forward. It's the big events, because you're still going to have like the fight nights that are going to be the smaller events, and you're going to have the numbered events. And next week we're going to be doing the preview for the first numbered event in the Paramount era and the first for 2026. And it's a pretty good card. So make sure you tune in next week, and we'll break down that card fight for fight. We're going to go through every single one of them, give our predictions, give our thoughts on the fight, and what we think can happen for the winners if they win those fights moving forward in 2026. So that's all I got. You want to go ahead and sign us out, Roy?
I thought I did. Well, thank you for listening to the Ground and Pound Cast. This is the official sign out.